something. Well, I know we don't have a lot of time, and I'm sure, without even asking, that you have plenty of things on your mind that you'd like to talk about. So I don't want to monopolize this. I'm going to say a few things and then basically turn it over to you, and I hope we can go on with the discussion, much more interesting for everybody. Just a side comment after what Blaise said. Don't feel intimidated about not having taken a graduate course in linguistics. There's nothing that I'm going to talk about or that I know about or that's relevant to these things that's beyond the level of ordinary high school student. My grandchildren don't have much trouble with them without any advanced degrees. So it's all pretty much, what's understood is pretty much on the surface. And people are intimidated into believing that they can't understand, and that's part of the system of indoctrination that you ought to escape from. We're all aware that right at this moment, bodies are being mutilated and torn to shreds by infernal weapons. Unknown numbers of people, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, are facing the threat of starvation and slow death. They were at the edge of survival after a decade of sanctions, criminal sanctions, even before the attack started, and no one knows what the effect will be, could be grim. Under circumstances like that, it is not easy for any of us, I'm sure, to try to step back and take a cooler look and ask how we got to this situation, where it's likely to go from here, and what we can do about it. But that's what I'll try to do, putting aside the scenes of horror that are all in the back of all our minds. With regard to the last question, what can we do? The answer is not just a lot, but virtually everything. We're unusually privileged. We're, by comparative standards, most of us remarkably have resources available to us that others don't have. We have enormous freedom. That's not a gift that was given to us. It's a legacy that was left to us by centuries of struggle, by centuries of people, most of whose names are completely forgotten, but who were the important people, and the ones who created the freedom and the rights that we now have, and that will be taken away unless you constantly defend them. And there is, in fact, a major effort to take them away right now. They will be unless they're defended. They can be extended, and they should go far beyond the changes. Even in recent years, there's been very striking and dramatic progress, and there can be a lot more. With regard to the current situation, we can do more to change it than anyone in the world. All of this should be truism. It's also kind of a truism that privilege confers responsibility. At that point, choices arise. You can face the responsibility, which may not be easy, but it's a lot easier for us than people in almost all the world. Or you can shirk the responsibility, in which case you're leaving the future to be determined by forces that are anything but benign. And it's not an exaggeration to say that that future may not be very long. They're pushing to the edge of survival. It's not an exaggeration. There have been crises in the past. The scale is quite different. Most of the people in the world, in fact, I'm sure the overwhelming majority, are praying that we will take that responsibility. There is just no other way, in the near future at least, to put a halt to a juggernaut that is regarded around the world with great fear and dread. and often hatred. In fact, I can't remember a moment like this in history. Just see if you can think of one. I can't. When one great power with enormous means of violence at its hands was so hated and despised and feared. The war that's going on is called in the propaganda system the War of the Allies. The only thing they're allied, the only alliance is the alliance of Bush and Blair against literally the entire world. The world opinion is overwhelmingly opposed to the war. It's not just the war. It's opposed to what the war is. The war is understood as a symptom of something much broader, and the opposition is to the much broader phenomenon of which this war is just an instance. We know what it is. I mean, at this point, even before the war began, you could read last October in the national press that that the world is more concerned about the unbridled use of U.S. power than it is about the threat posed by Saddam Hussein.